Indiana lawmakers right now considering a bill that would ban the discussion of human sexuality in the classroom for children between kindergarten and the 3rd grade. That subject currently is not taught to kids that young. Supporters say this is about parental rights. Critics, though, who rallied at the State House today argue this bill would marginalize children who identify as LGBTQ+ and kids with parents who identify that way. This stirred a lot of debate at the Indiana Capitol.
If a child in 1st grade asks their teacher, "Why does Joe have 2 mommies? I have 1 mommy." Is the teacher allowed to respond to that?
You can have 2 moms, you can have 2 dads, you can have a mom and a dad. The rest of the discussion should be with the parents, I believe.
So tonight, let's break down this bill. Under one amendment, parents would have to give written permission at the beginning of the school year for a child to use a different name or pronoun. Even with parental permission, teachers would not have to use the requested name or pronoun if it went against their own beliefs. Teachers would also be required to let parents know if their child was asking for a name or pronoun change. The bill passed out of the Education Committee by a 9-4 vote. It now heads to the House floor.
Well, tonight we're looking at what it could mean for Indiana families and educators. Our Rachel Krause has actually been digging into the impact of this bill.
Yeah, and many are raising concerns about the bill's wording, saying that it's vague and could have wide-reaching impacts in the classrooms far beyond the bill's original intent. I sat down with one family who says this legislation could hurt families like theirs and countless others if it's able to become law.
Good morning, and thank you for having me here today.
Just makes me really proud because I know she's, standing up for her family and standing up for what's important to her. And essentially that's what we've always wanted for her.
Watching at the State House Monday morning, Shelley Fitzgerald looks proudly on at her daughter Sophia, telling lawmakers about her 2 moms.
And participated in every parent-teacher conference.
Calling on lawmakers not to pass HB 1608.
We were even celebrated as the school's Family of the Month.
That would prevent kids of LGBTQ parents like her from being able to talk about her family at school.
Family trees, that would not have been a thing. It would have been a stump. It would have been me. And that would have been it. And that's horrible. That's just horrible to think about.
Sophia says this bill would take away a child being able to confide in a trusted teacher about their sexuality or talk about their family at school. A bill with the potential to cut deep.
That's a really young age to have to go through something like that, and you are not in the place to be able to deal with that mentally, and that can really, really be a detriment to just so many kids, like mental health and all that kind of stuff. And it's just something that's unnecessary and does not need to be a thing in the world because it's hateful and mean.
And there are growing concerns that if HB 1608 is allowed to become law, it would hurt kids the hardest. According to GLAAD, an LGBTQ advocacy group, right now 1 in 2 LGBTQ kids experience bullying. More than half won't report it for fear of inaction. And nearly 2 in 3 LGBTQ kids who did report bullying say staff did nothing. Zoe O'Halen-Byrne with Indiana Youth Group says there are concerns this bill could lead to increases in bullying and kids with fewer safe places to turn.
Yes, I believe our services will be needed more than ever. I think a lot of youth are going to be looking for places to reach out, especially as they discover that maybe school is no longer going to be a safe place, or maybe they're dealing with things at school that they want to come and talk to a like-minded LGBTQ+ peer or LGBTQ+ adults. So at IYG, our doors are wide open.
Fitzgerald, who was fired by an Indianapolis Catholic high school for her marriage to another woman, knows that the anti-LGBTQ sentiment can leave deep scars. She says she wants her family to be visible in the community for her daughter, to help her feel confident that her family is not something to be ashamed of, but rather one to be proud of.
The less we tried to hide and the less, shame that we showed on the outside, we felt like it would be something that would make her more confident and that this is just an everyday thing. And so bills like this are very, very, not just hurtful, but it's important that when you're growing up that you're able to talk about your family.
Their mother truckers.
Clearly, there are strong feelings on all sides of this issue.
Yeah, absolutely. And we heard from several parents today who addressed lawmakers in support of this House bill. They say that some topics just need to stay out of the classroom.
It is holding educators accountable to stay in their lane of educating our children on academics and not indoctrinating them.
I can love and respect everyone in this room and do. I have no reason to think otherwise, and still not want my child, an 8-year-old, taught sex ed.
So as we saw today, clearly this is an issue that has a lot of Hoosiers divided.
It is, and Indiana is not alone. Multiple states are considering similar legislation.
Okay, thank you for bringing us this. Of course, we'll be following this bill's progress. You'll be able to find developments as soon as we learn them on air and online. Head to our website, WTHR.com.